So let's go. So thank you first to the organizers for such nice remote conference. That's very, very cool. Today I'm glad to present you prospective work with my colleagues on the characterization at angular resolution of the chemical composition of the planet building blocks, namely the dust. So here Matisse is written everywhere in the slide, but I hope that work will serve for any NBAN observations of disks. So if you have a look at the distribution of exoplanets confirmed today, you can see a nice diversity of mass, size, and location, and very likely diversity in composition also, as suggested, for instance, from the composition of the photosphere of, for instance, nearby planet hosting stars. For instance, in terms of C2O ratio, where we see that they spread around the solar value, which is about 0.54. And such diversity in composition should actually reflect back to also to the disk, which contain the primordial material for forming the planets. And in terms of solids, actually, now we know that silicate is ubiquitous in disks. But what about the other solid species, especially the refractory material that are expected to be the basis of the telluric planets, for instance? And therefore, which condensates can we expect in the planet-forming regions? And actually, that question brings us back to the early phases of the formation of disks, when the cloud, actually the primordial cloud collapsed and material was injected into the star, but also into the forming disk. And what is especially interesting here is that when material was injected into the forming disk close to the star, it vaporized, so was reset and then recondensed. So in the inner regions of disks, we may have specific compositions of solids that actually reflect the initial composition of the bulk of the protostellar nebula. And what do we expect, therefore, observational signatures of that in, for instance, NBAN spectra of disks? So to answer that question, actually to address at least that question, we started from models of dust condensation sequences, and which basically consisted in starting from a 2D disk structure that actually gives you the pressure and temperature conditions, plus an initial composition for the gas phase. And then applying equilibrium calculations, you get a distribution of condensates in different positions in the disk. But such a simple approach, such equilibrium approach, is only valid at high temperatures. So therefore, we predicted compositions of solids in the frame of that model, which corresponded to a classical telluric disk, to the 1AU, the inner 1AU disk. And here is an example of what you get as a distribution of condensates formed in the inner 1AU in the case of a solar C2O. So I'm mentioning the C2O ratio because it's actually a key parameter that is one of the main drivers of the outcome in terms of condensations. And so you see that you have, for instance, enstatite, phosphorite, which is not shown here, but other solid materials. And actually compositions in solids varying or impacting the NBAN spectra of disks. And so in our case, we varied actually the C2O ratio from subsolar, solar, and supersolar values. And in the case of our models, actually, we splitted the inner 1AU into two zones where we had significantly different compositions of solids. And you can see that when you have an oxygen-rich bulk composition, you get silicates and many oxides. When you have the solar composition, you get silicates and metals, but no carbon at all. And when you have, I would say, carbon-rich composition, you get phosphorite, but mostly iron silicide and a little bit of graphite. So those very different compositions will imprint the NBAN spectra that would be obtained, for instance, with Matisse. So to answer that, we started from those specific inner disk composition that we included into a classical disk model, a continuous disk model that was used as an input of a radiator transfer code that was then used to compute disk emission maps in N-band. And finally, simulated Matisse observations, so synthetic spectra, I would say spatially resolved spectra, probing different innermost regions. So here is one of the results we got. And you can see that actually, depending on the initial composition of the bulk composition, you get different outcomes from those spectra. For instance, if you start from an oxygen-rich condensation sequence, you get something that is rather flat with a prominent emission at the short edge of the N-band, while on the other extreme case, this is not at all what you get. You get a prominent phosphorite feature, which is here at 11.3 micron, and almost no emission below 10 micron, which is due to the fact that you had the formation of featureless species, like iron silicide. So we can see that already from a very simple approach, you can start having a kind of interpretation in terms of mineralogy of the disk that go beyond just a mix of silicates. And to go even further, and to illustrate that, we also compared those synthetic spectra, the observed inner disk spectra from MIDI. So let's take, for example, the case of HD 142527, which is a Herbie A star, which is surrounded by a transitional disk with a huge gap and a small inner emission. And you can see that the MIDI spatially resolved spectra changed quite a lot when zooming in, when going inward. And that change, if we consider only the mineralogical aspect, could be reproduced by a C-rich synthetic spectrum, for instance. Then, if we take another example, which is the case of the Herbig star HD 144432, which is a younger disk which has a more continuous structure, nonetheless, we see a significant change in the mineralogy and in the spectrum of the target as we are zooming in. That could be actually reproduced nicely by a solar synthetic spectrum. So from that view, we can see that we are starting seeing actually subtle differences in the spectra of this that would actually inform us about the composition of solids, not only in terms of silicates, but also in terms of other species. So as a summary, we provided through these condensation sequences model specific inner disk composition that were used to produce synthetic Matisse and spectra that actually show specific shapes and amplitudes depending on the situ ratios. And that allowed us also to provide a qualitative interpretation of already existing N-band spectra, for instance, of two stars. And the take-home message actually for this talk is that the inner disk mineralogy can be very specific and actually different from what you get from spatially unresolved N-band spectroscopy. And therefore, in the context of the nice context of Minifred instruments coming up with Matisse and soon Métis, which will address specifically the solid state spectroscopy of disks in their innermost regions, we actually need physically consistent disk chemistry models to really address that aspect and infer possibly the composition of solids in the regions where terrestrial planets are supposed to form. So thank you.
So thank you. So we have the time for one question.
Mm-hmm.
So from Gwendoline News, do you also include PEH in your models?
No, not yet. No. Because actually, in those condensation sequences, we do not consider molecular species such as pH, because pHs, they are kind of in between. They are non-gas, but not necessarily dust grains. So it's a bit more difficult to address that aspect. Yeah, but it's something actually that for sure should be considered. Yes.